you are not protected. And understand that most states you can be sued for that and you can go to jail for it. So I'm going to count down for you now 10 things that I like to throw at people who ask me about stuff I might know from practicing in the fields of lemon law and other automobile laws. These are in no particular order, although the 10th one might be, but we'll get there. Number one, I do a lot of traffic tickets. A lot of people go, hey, got a reckless driving ticket, and they take it lightly. I have to explain to them reckless driving, although it's handed to you in the form of a ticket. In Michigan, the ticket's a different color. Different color because it's a misdemeanor. Misdemeanor is a crime. I have tried cases with juries where a jury got to say whether or not my client went to jail for reckless driving. So in many states, reckless driving means you can go to jail. You can get a stack of points in your license, maybe 6, when 12 is a winner, or jail time. Now, the jury won't actually send you to jail. The judge would do that. But the point is, it's not a traffic ticket. You can't just pay it and make it go away. You got to go into court and work something out and pray you don't wind up in front of a jury. I've had a few of those happen. You win some, you lose some. But reckless driving is a crime. Keep that in mind. Number 2, this is something that I have to explain to people at least once a week. Certified pre-owned is not new. It is used. A car is either new or used when you buy it. It's only new once, then it's used. It can't be both, new and used. It is one or the other. Certified pre-owned is not a third category. It is a category of used. And the sad part is, people call me, they say, Steve, I bought a car, it's defective, I want to go under the lemon law. I say, what type of car is it? They tell me go buy it new or used. CPO. I go, you bought it used. And I can hear the shock at their end of the phone when they hear that and they go, no, it's certified pre-owned. Yes, certified pre-owned, used, certified used. The certification has nothing to do. They can't make the car new again. The car was used, it's traded in, it is now used, it is still used. Number 3, again, these are not in any order. Number 3, if you get in an accident and damage property, you know it's a property damage accident. A lot of people assume it only affects them if they damage someone else's property. You can be involved in a property damage accident involving your own property. And believe it or not, you can get a ticket for that, possibly a crime depending on what you damaged. But I've known of somebody who rammed their own car into another car they owned. Police were called to the scene. The person got written up for a property damage accident. And if they left the scene, which they didn't, luckily, they could have gotten written up for leaving the scene of a property damage accident. And I've had people say, but Steve, it's my property. I can do anything with it I want. You can, but there are laws that address if you are in an accident with no damage versus an accident with damage versus an accident with personal injury damage, okay? And the point is they want you driving safely, and if you are out smashing stuff, whether it's yours or not, insurance law varies wildly from state to state. And all I can tell you is that I'm talking hypotheticals here. Hypothetical is you did this on purpose, or of course, if it was accidental. You know, let's suppose that you were sliding down your driveway and you rammed into one of your cars and you took off. If somebody called the cops show up and go, hey, there's property damage here, and you left the scene. Some people are going to say, but what's the harm there? The harm there is someone called the cops because I saw some guy ram a car into another car and the guy took off. Now the cops are investigating. I mean, if nothing else, they can make that argument. But if you rammed your own car into something you own and filed an insurance claim on that, they're going to be looking at that real hard going, do we even need to pay this? Do we cover purposeful damage to property versus accidental damage? And so the question always is that. I'm simply pointing out, don't think just because it's yours it doesn't count. Number 4, I've done videos on this. This happens occasionally, but people will rent a car and they always walk around the car looking for door dings and scratches. They jump in the car and they drive off. If you get pulled over in a rental car, and ask me how I know, a police officer walk up to your car and say, driver's license, registration, and Mr. Leite, would you please slow down? Although that'll vary from driver to driver. So you reach in the glove box, you pull out paperwork. You better hope that paperwork's good, because some of the paperwork doesn't speak to the owner of the car. It speaks to the driver of the car, meaning that you, as the driver, are responsible to make sure the car is registered properly. And if you got pulled over with an expired registration from an insurance company, you get the ticket for driving on a suspended or expired registration. Now you might say, what are the odds? It happens. It happens. I'm not saying it happens a lot, but I'm saying you might want to check the paperwork when you rent a car to make sure, or at least look at the license plate to see if it's got a sticker on it that shows that it's currently registered, because that often does show you from state to state what year the registration is good for on the license plate. Number 5, I've represented people who've gotten speeding tickets driving below the speed limit. So many people think that the speed limit is a cap. Anytime I'm within that cap, I'm okay. Not true. There's always going to be a thing similar to a basic speed law, which says that you can never drive any faster than the conditions allow. Meaning that if it's not safe to drive at 70 miles an hour, even though that's the speed limit, you shouldn't be doing that. Most common example I can think of is in Michigan, where it snows 10, 12 months out of the year. You might be driving along one day and it starts snowing and you're in a hurry and you keep driving. I've had a client get pulled over because he made the mistake of passing a police officer on a snowy day. And the cop said, I was doing the safe limit, you were not. My friend goes, I was still below the speed limit. He goes, you were still driving at an unsafe speed. And so that would be a great defense. If you ever go driving along the highway and you slowed way down, he goes, hey, you're driving below the minimum speed limit. Because some highways have a minimum. And the basic speed law trumps the minimum, at least in Michigan, meaning that if it says you must do 45, but no more than 70, if it's snowing and raining and sleeting, you can do 10 if that's safe. But that's always going to be an argument you make in court. There's a couple myths out there about how to beat tickets, and I got 2 of them here for you. Those will be 6 and 7 on the list. Number 1 is that if you get a ticket and you want to fight it and you want to make sure you win, keep adjourning it. You see, you adjourn it, and you adjourn it, and you adjourn it, and eventually the cop will just get sick of it and he'll go away, or he'll forget about your case. And I actually have a friend who's a court administrator, and I asked her about this, and she said, number 1, we won't adjourn these things forever. You do have to come in eventually. But number 2, we'll also adjourn it for the cops. But if the cop shows up and you didn't show up, well, if you have an excuse, we might not ding you for that, but it's the same thing. I've seen it before where a cop doesn't show up, and guess what? Where's the cop? He got called away on an emergency. Okay, we'll adjourn this. And they've made a person come back despite the fact, because a lot of people think if the cop doesn't show up, you automatically win. You don't automatically win. You might win, but you don't automatically. But adjourning it, they know what you're doing. And the thing you might not realize is that most police departments, especially tickets I'm familiar with, they'll say like Wednesday is the day the Royal Oak City cops are in the 44th District Court. Every Wednesday. So that cop ain't just coming in for you. He's coming in for 20 or 30 tickets. So if you adjourn yours to the following week, guess what? He doesn't care. You'll be among those 30 or 40 tickets. And the third or fourth time you try to adjourn it, they're going to go, no, we've noticed you keep adjourning this. That's not how it works. Number 7, and I've seen this one several times as being discussed on Reddit boards and so on. What you do is you get a ticket. They fine you. You pay the fine and you overpay it by $1. They go, oh, this person paid us a check for $151. We owe them $1. So they'll mail you a check for $1. But if you don't cash it, they can't put that on your record. So the ticket won't show up. Says who? They're going to cash your check, send you a check for $1, which by the way will go expired in 90 days, and make a note that you paid your check for the fines, and you're done. That's it. I don't know where these things come from. People want these things to be true, but that one to me is so goofy. But I've heard that so many. Hey, do you know what I heard? Okay, I'm an attorney. Been doing this for 34 years. I've heard everything. Okay. Number 8, and this one people aren't going to like, but I assure you, I'm telling you the truth. The feds, NHTSA, and the other people in Washington who like to rule us and how we work with our cars, a few years back rewrote the requirements on odometer reporting on titles. And it used to be that you would keep reporting the existing mileage on a title every single time the title changed hands. And so you'd have a car that's been on the road since the 50s, and it's had all these titles all along the way, and they keep recording the mileage. And somebody realized it's a waste of time after 10 years. And so it now often says, if the vehicle is 10 years old, exempt from reporting. No need to put the mileage in there. A couple reasons why it makes sense also is that some of the older odometers didn't record after a while. They just zero out and start over again. Okay? I've had people tell me that because of that, they can roll an odometer back legally as long as the car is over 10 years old. That's not what the law says. The law says it's not required that you report the mileage. But if you read the statute, and there's a federal statute, and most states have got a state statute, the state statute says explicitly you cannot roll mileage back on an odometer, can't tamper, alter with, whatever the different language is, any odometer on any car, period, unless you're replacing it or repairing it, and then there's things you got to do to indicate that. But the notion that you can spin an odometer back and then sell it with exempt mileage, you are not protected. And understand that most states you can be sued for that and you can go to jail for it. Now, it's rare that they prosecute people for odometer tampering unless you do it a lot. And once in a while, you hear about the feds catching some guy who's rolled the odometers back on 100 cars and selling them through some car lot and he got busted. You hear about that. More often, you hear about people getting sued. Ask me how I know. Not because I've been sued, but I have sued other people for odometer tampering. I've had an attorney call me and say, Steve, the car is over 10 years old. I go, so what? And he goes, it's exempt. I go, it's exempt from reporting, not from tampering. So keep that in mind if you're buying and selling used cars. So I've had people go, what if my odometer broke? You're allowed to repair an odometer, but the statutes say what you must do if you repair an odometer. Number 9, drunk driving. Now, if you're driving down the road, you can get a ticket for drunk driving. You can also get a ticket for speeding. If you're driving through an alleyway on private property, you probably can't get a ticket for speeding in most states, but you can get a ticket for drunk driving. Most states say drunk driving is its own little category, and they'll say you can get a ticket for drunk driving so long as you are on a public roadway or someplace open to vehicular traffic. So the best example I can give you is a Walmart parking lot. There might be a stop sign in a Walmart parking lot. In many states, you can blow right past it. I'm not recommending you do that, but you can't get a ticket for it because it's not a traffic control device on a public roadway. However, you're in the parking lot, drunk out of your mind, doing donuts, and a cop pulls you over and you're slurring your words and your eyeballs are doing this, you can get a ticket for that, drunk driving. But I'm not on a public road, I'm on private property. Doesn't matter, it is open to the public. And for the people who don't like this statute or the law, have to understand that the law is there to protect the public. So if it's open to the public and you're out there doing donuts, you might hurt someone else. You might also hurt yourself, but the key is that drunk driving is something for which you can be written on private property. And I've seen stories in the news. I've never handled a case like this. I've handled a lot of drunk driving cases, but not one like this. And it doesn't matter. Is it open to the public? Now, I've had people say, but Steve, what if you were in your own backyard doing donuts? Well, is your backyard open to the public? Are there people driving through your backyard all day long? Probably not. So I'm not going to recommend it, but go out there, knock yourself out, do whatever you want to do. And then number 10, and I'm throwing this in there because I know that there's a lot of car people in the audience who watch NASCAR. And I like to explain to people, because I get asked all the time, they go, Steve, are you a fan of NASCAR? I say, my appreciation for NASCAR kind of dropped off in 1971, primarily because of the entrance of restrictor plates, which are evil, but also the fact that cars no longer look stock. And people go, well, they haven't looked stock for a long time. And I say, that's absolutely true. But if you go back to the earliest days of NASCAR, when NASCAR was actual stock car racing, just to understand how far they've come since then, or gone, actually, because I think that they've gone the wrong direction. The cars nowadays, you know what they look like. It's got a big old Tide logo on the hood, and you got to climb in through the window, and the average person couldn't identify what type of car it's supposed to be, even though it's supposed to be a Ford or whatever. That's the modern stock car. Go back to the first stock car race in Charlotte. That's what I'm talking about, the first race. The guy who won the race, Jim Roper, drove to the race from Kansas in the car that he raced in the race and won, and then drove that car home to Kansas 1,000 miles away. The car was perfectly street legal. It was just a stock car, and that's how stock it was. Now, I believe the rules at the time would have required him to do some minor things to race. Like, for instance, I believe the doors had to be held shut by something more than just the door latches. He probably had to wear a helmet. They may have painted numbers on the side. But It had all the headlights and brake lights and turn signals and window glass that the cars had back then. And like I said, drove the winning car to the race, raced it, and drove it home. That's a stock car.
For the last 20 years or so, I've been working with Premier Financial Services for my own exotic car needs, but also sending friends and clients when I was a car dealer to Premier Financial Services because their simple lease is truly the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. We love it because we get all the great things about leasing, like low upfronts, better tax treatment for business owners, lower sales taxes, but we also retain all the great things about a traditional finance arrangement, like the ability to accumulate equity, trade in and out whenever you want, and always know where your payoff stands because they give you an amortization table with every single lease. And Premier's been a supporter of VINwiki here for the last 8 years, and we love them for that, but truly because the customer support of the Premier Financial Services team is unmatched. And now that they're backed and wholly owned by First Financial Bank, that gives them even more buying power for their portfolio of the most significant and valuable collector and exotic cars in the world. It's also allowing them to create new and more interesting finance options and programs for their clients and giving them much more buying power, which is what everybody is looking for as they go on the search for their dream car. So check out Premier Financial Services right now at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and know that they'll be the perfect supporter of your journey to own your dream car.